jab and the stab. Longest weapon with the unarmed is the poke, which we practice on Bob, or just shadow fighting at our own height or using a mirror to the eye. Okay? Staying sideways. Longest reach, a bit of movement there. Okay, so that's the stab. When you eye gouge, you're not aiming to go through the target, like you would with a sword if you're Ari. What you want to do is poking off. The danger with these strikes is you miss, you hit a hard target, you fuck up your hands. Fists and punching is quite a natural thing, but again, it's very easy to fuck up your hand. If we stab, or if we jab, it's the same sort of motion. When we do the eye gouge jab, you want to touch, a little bit of penetration into the target and back. That minimizes the chance of hurting your hands. But the other thing is it makes your strike more accurate and fast. Okay, and that's what you want to practice. That, in the heat of a moment, in a stressful fight, not very easy to do. Okay, but you can practice it and get better at it. By that same token, with a knife to the eye, no matter how you hold the knife, that is much better than trying to stab and stay in the target. So it's the same with a punch, and the same if you stab to the body. You don't want to stab and have your weapon stuck in the target. Okay, the other thing as well is, if you just stab them once hard, that's not as good as stabbing them multiple times quickly, and they're less likely to feel it. So that's how we would react with the knife, with the jab and the stab, using the same fencing footwork that we did. Now convert that to hands, and again with the knuckle, we're not aiming to go all the way through the target, just aiming to go a couple of inches in and out at different angles with the elbow, different angles with the head. It's the same thing. Okay? So that's the jab and the stab with the hands, the knife, and the knife hand, the pokey poke. How would this translate to swords now? Well, when we spar without headgear, we're predominantly striking the hands because they're the closest target. Okay? So we strike to the hands pretty much full force. Obviously, we do not stab to the fucking head if we're not wearing head cages. Only an absolute idiot would stab somebody in the head full force if they weren't wearing a head cage, or if they were trying to sell their self-defense bullshit. Okay, so the stab with a sword, let's say this is a big bastard sword, or it's a spear. My stab with this doesn't want to be a thrust, all of that is effective. And the same with that is a highly effective thrust, as I should know. But better than that, which might miss or land in the target and get stuck, it is better to pull the shot. And pulling the shot is what we would do if we were even wearing headgear. Like if I had been sparring with a student and fractured their eye socket, I would be ashamed of myself for being such a piece of shit. But even if we're wearing head cages, we can't hit each other full force with the stabs or punch each other full force with head cages on, because it will concuss, it will do damage. Now we can still hit to the head wearing head cages, and we can stab, but we just got to be light. And to be honest, that's what you would want to do in a real scenario anyway, because a full force committed stab on one opponent might kill that opponent, but it might get your sword stuck in the opponent, and then you get hacked to pieces by somebody else. Okay, so the poking in and out, either from long range or from further away, from sideways on guards, is worth practicing. The final thing, of course, is what is more applicable to how we fight with the Jeet Kune Do stance, using the low guard. So a Muay Thai guard, for example, is here and it's high. Jeet Kune Do one is more this, so it's half and half. One low hand, so if they go for our legs, we can sweep around their neck and choke them. And the rear hand is high for defense and for parrying. Same thing applies to fencing foil or saber in this case. With lead hand, poke. I don't want to commit to my strike so much that it goes through the target. I just want to poke and out, poke and out. And in sword fights as well, you know, in some sword fights and duels and stuff, you'd stab your opponent all the way through, get stuck, and because your opponent still has a sword and a free hand, you get stabbed the same back. Okay, so the double hit is something we want to avoid, not only in fencing, in sparring in general. I don't want to get hit at the same time I hit the person. So whenever I stab or jab or anything, I cover with the rear hand, and I don't overcommit to go through. I just aim to in and out. Same with the rubber knife.